3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Welcome to Mission CTRL, Peralta Design's podcast on all things branding and digital marketing. Since 2008, Peralta Design has launched hundreds of brands with award-winning identities and websites. Join our hosts Ramon and Jorge as they use decades of combined experience to tackle topics with past clients, industry partners, and the rest of the PD crew. At Peralta Design, we launch brands. But for now, let's launch right into this episode of Mission CTRL.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mission CTRL, where we respect the grind and reclaim the American dream. I am your host, Ramon Peralta from Peralta Design, and we launch brands. I'm very excited today. Number one, we are back in the studio, which is very, very cool. I've got Kevin here, Kevin Atterbury at the deck here, and we have a special guest. This is, he's a very long-time Valley resident, born in Waterbury. His resume is just too long for me to go over every single thing. This is what happens when you do so much. Ron was an educator, an executive for HSBC Bank, a past president of the United Way of Naugatuck and Beacon Falls, director of economic development for City of Waterbury, and he's currently the president and CEO of the Naugatuck Economic Development Corporation. Please help me welcome Mr. Ron Pugliese. So did I say your name right?
Pugliese is fine, yeah.
Pugliese or Pugliese?
No, Pugliese.
Pugliese.
Yeah.
Pugliese, not Pugliese. Pugliese.
Pugliese.
Pugliese.
But you can call me anything you want. I could care less.
For some reason, it's just one of those names that I want to pronounce it right, and I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be fancy.
The original Italian is Pugliese.
Pugliese.
And my grandfather, when he came here in 1910, he decided Pugliese. There's other people with the same exact spelling say Pugliese. Mm-hmm. And so somebody would say to me, well, why don't you use the E? Because Grandpa told me not to.
Right,
so
right. Yeah. Got it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited, and I love, excuse me, I love the studio here, and I'm glad I'm the one who's
You're the first.
The first one.
You're the first one back.
Back, anyway, yeah.
Just when you thought it was safe to come out,
I'm very happy to be here.
We're glad. I mean, and when we set this up, you had the option. I said we can do this on Zoom, we can do this in person, and you were like, "Look, we're both vaccinated. Let's lead the way and show that we can re-enter this business world."
And I also told you that I'm tired of Zoom meetings. I like this. I like to sit here, see who I'm talking to. This young man here is a nice guy. I can tell.
Excellent. Yeah, Kev's been with us a while. He's our lead back-end developer, moonlighting today as our soundboard, sound effect man. So you can play a sound effect for us there. Let us know you're here.
That's a good one.
There you go, the rim shot. Good. All right, Ron. So let's get into it. Tell us your backstory. I know I said you were born in Waterbury, but then what happened?
So I was born in Waterbury, and I actually lived there for 26 years. My wife and I have been married for 48 years.
Wow. God bless.
Very difficult to believe, but she's a great person. I don't want to be saucy here, but she's my best friend. I mean, she's great. She really is great. We get along great. So we got married at a very young age. I was 22. She was 21. And we were living in a small apartment in Waterbury. I was teaching at St. Peter and Paul School in Waterbury, which was really what I felt was going to be my job for the rest of my life. And it just didn't work out. There was, in the early 70s, it was very difficult to get a public school job, especially as a history graduate. I was a history guy, secondary education. And so I got this job at St. Pete's, and then didn't work out. I mean, it worked out great, and I loved it, and I thought I was going to stay there for a while. But I thought to try to get into public schools, couldn't get it. And out of nowhere, I got an opportunity to work at the Eastern Company in Naugatuck. And so I took the job, and just before I took the job, we moved because we had our first son, second one on his way, and so we moved to Naugatuck. And I said to my wife, I really don't want to go to Naugatuck because I was a Waterbury kid for my whole life. I was an athlete. The older I get, the better I was, but I'm not so sure if that's really true. But I played a lot of baseball, a lot of basketball, and we always played against the Naugatuck High School kids, and they were really good, the baseball players. So I didn't want to go to Naugatuck. Why would I want to do that? But we did. And the day that we moved, I said, this is going to be temporary. And we stayed there for 31 years.
Wow.
So we really got involved in the community.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about the United Way, which is, I'm still involved with the United Way, though I'm no longer the president or on the board. So it's just, it just getting into the whole idea of what Naugatuck was. I had this mindset that these guys were just athletes and they were really good players, and sometimes we beat them, sometimes they beat us. But once I got settled in, I got involved in politics, I got involved in a lot of things, and I'm still, even though we don't live in Naugatuck now, which is another whole story, but I've been back there now for almost 8 years working as an economic development guy.
Okay.
And I think the town is great.
And what drives you? What has been the common denominator with all these different positions?
Well, I think getting people together. So as you and I were talking at one point, where what I really live for is I have this guy over here who wants to sell a building or wants to do something, and this other guy who I know wants to buy a building. So the thing that I think is so great for the job that I do and my personality is getting those two people together and working out a deal that's good for both of them. Because I'm not representing one or the other, I'm helping both of them. And it's worked out very well.
Excellent. Now, I'm curious as to, take me back a little to your childhood. Where do you think this passion for service came in? Because a lot of these are, the other common denominator, aside from connecting, is that you really believe in paying it forward.
I do. It's that phrase really means something to me. And when it first started coming up, and it hasn't been that long that phrase has been around, but I've always thought that way. And I think I grew up in a project, and a lot of people don't want to talk about that you grew up in the project. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Now, the world was a lot different when I was a little kid. And it's all I did during the summer. I'd get up in the morning. There's no school, right? Because we're in the summer. I'd have a little breakfast. I'd go out. Maybe I'd come home for lunch, but I'd come home by dinner. And it's all we did is kids. It's all we do. We had a whole bunch of great kids up there. And we played baseball or we played basketball. We go swimming. And so we never got in any trouble. Well, I'm sure we did at some point, but we weren't nasty kids. We're not going to take a rock and throw it through somebody's window. If we saw that, we'd try to figure out how we could help them fix that window. So I really thought that the way I think is the way I grew up, not with a lot of money, not with I wasn't a country club kid or anything like that, but we just had a great opportunity to know a lot of different people. And I think that's what kind of drives me today. Because I got that sort of personality where I can make a lot of friends, and I still do that. So I think it all started with the projects at Broadview Acres and Bucks Hill and Waterbury.
I can see empathy or hear empathy in what you're describing, because I mean that's an important skill, and I think the more people you meet, the more you can identify with them and see how we're more alike, than we are different.
So I was a teacher for a long time. Not a long time, but I was a teacher. And then I was a salesman, and then I ran a tube company, Connecticut Tube Products in Woodbury. I was asked to come to join that company, which I did as a salesman. And one of the people who maybe helped my life quite a bit was a wonderful guy who asked me to come and join with him. We were going to buy the company together, and unfortunately, he passed away pretty, quickly. And so I ended up becoming president of the company. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was traveling around the country. Then I had an opportunity, and it wasn't an opportunity I was looking for. It just sort of came to me to become the president of the Connecticut Retail Merchants Association. And I always was involved in politics, really enjoyed it. I was on the town council in Naugatuck back in the 80s. And so this had an opportunity for me to go to the state capitol and lobby on behalf of the retail merchants. And I really enjoyed it. And then about 4 years, I was there about 4 years. And then again, another opportunity came to me. Again, I didn't even know it was there. And I ended up with a company called Household International. And most people that are listening would know that Household was a company that would give loans out to people. And so later on, I was there for 15 years, and about 8 years in, HSBC took over that company. So I lobbied Connecticut, all of New England, New York, Virginia. I'm going to miss some of the states. I even went as far west as Minnesota, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I had people that worked for me and really, really enjoyed all that. So I think this is a great job. I mean, it's fun. I get to travel. I get to go to some nice conventions. I get to play golf.
I have to ask, did you bring the wife along, or?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, she was a teacher, so it's very difficult for her to get off. So, at the end, I think it was like 2009, the HSBC out of London decided that they didn't think they needed, which I argued against it, of course. They didn't need state government relations people. I was a state guy. I went to Washington a lot, but I didn't lobby to Congress. I was a state person. And they eliminated the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of banged around a little bit and became a lobbyist with some friends of mine together. And then I became president of the East Hartford Chamber of Commerce. And the thing that I loved about that job is that when I got there, they had almost no members. They had almost no money. They weren't paying me much. And I stayed there a year and a half, and it really, we just made and it wasn't just me, it was a great group of people who put that East Hartford Chamber of Commerce back to where it should have been. And then I got asked to go to Waterbury. And I stayed there about a year and a half, and then I've been in Naugatuck doing economic development.
Now, the role at the chamber, were you tapped for that? It seems to me like once people know you're the kind of guy that gets things done,
Yes.
they grab you and they ask you to be, or did you advocate to be in that role?
No, I wasn't even aware that I knew the town of East Hartford, of course, because I've been in Hartford all these years. But no, I didn't know that the Chamber of Commerce was looking for somebody. And a friend of mine who was working at CBIA at the time called me one day and said, you should take that job. You'd be perfect. So I put my name in. And this is one of my favorite stories. They were looking for an executive director.
Okay.
So I go in, and I'm sitting around a table a little bit larger than this, and a whole bunch of people, and they're throwing questions at it. And I love that kind of stuff. I really do. So I said to him, look, if you want an executive director, I'll help you get one. But if you want somebody who's going to do the job, should be the president of the chamber. And if you want me to come, I'll come as a president, but not executive director. And they said, well, I think that's a great idea. And they hired me on the spot. They didn't pay me much money.
Way to go, though.
But, again, it's what you and I talked about before. Taking people together, bringing people together. That's what I enjoy to do. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether I was a teacher, whether I was a chamber executive or an economic development person or a lobbyist. You always want to bring people together.
Right. Now, when did you transition out of teaching? Because I didn't know if I heard that.
So I graduated college in 1974, and neither one of you two guys were born in 1974. Oh, you were born? That's good. That makes me feel a little better. This guy is...
I was 4, but I was around.
Okay, all right, good. At least you're around. And so I graduated and tried to get a public school job, and there were no jobs. And so I ended up with, as I mentioned before, St. Peter and Paul, Catholic school, 7th and 8th grade, teaching history. And it was this fabulous job. But again, I wasn't getting paid any money.
Right.
And I was pretty young, and we had our second child while I was at St. Pete's. And my wife wasn't working because she had these 2 little babies that were a little difficult to deal with because they were young.
That's a full-time job.
Yeah, it is. And so when I had this opportunity to go to Eastern Company, I figured that must be the right thing for me to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't the best job I ever had. So it's sort of interesting that on Friday was the last day of school, and I don't want to sound like I was this Superman or anything, but everybody loved me there. And so I was the most popular teacher at St. Peter and Paul School. So Monday I go to work, and I start on the late shift. Because they wanted me to go through all these different departments. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I go into the mill, and I'm going to be the assistant foreman who knows absolutely nothing. And they said to me, all right, the first thing you have to do is build one of these boxes so the sand can go in for the molds. And I said to my boss at the time, the last time I had a hammer in my hand, I missed the other nail, but I hit this nail in my left hand. And he said, well, you got to figure it out, kid. And it took a while, but I did. And I got to learn a lot.
Yeah.
And I was dealing with people that I was their boss, and they knew millions more than I ever knew.
Yeah, and I think I'm a firm believer that, everything that's happened to you has led you to this point, kind of a philosophy, and I think your empathy shows in all the different roles that you were in, because you were teaching.
Yes.
Then you were business owner. You were the president of a business. Then you represented businesses, and you were involved in politics. I think that.
But I feel that teaching has never left me. Mm-hmm. So whether I'm dealing with business people,
right, and
trying to put business people together with other business people to get in the industrial park or to put a business in Naugatuck, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Right. So what's it like now in this new role? You've been there 8 years.
Almost 8 years.
What's been your greatest achievement since you've been there?
Well, when I first was asked to take this position, the mayor of this town at the time, a great guy named Bob Mezzo, he's not mayor anymore, but he's on my board now. Mm-hmm. And then the chairman of my board, we had a little meeting. Unfortunately, his name's Jay Carlson. He passed away. So they said to me, we got 3 things that we'd like you to do. 1 is Prospect Street School. 2 is the railroad station, which are owned by the town. And Parcel C, which is, there's a Parcel B and a Parcel A, and we could talk about that later. So those were the 3 things that they asked me to do right away. And we did it. We found somebody to buy the old school, Prospect Street School, and it's beautiful. They did a beautiful job. The railroad station I'll save for a second here. And the parcel C, which had been barren for 30 years, over 30 years, we found somebody to do that. Now, as you could hear, I'm saying we. It's not just I.
Right.
And because everybody has to work together. So the best story is the former Naugatuck Railroad Station. Now, interestingly, my office was in that building. So when we sold it, I had to get out, and we had up to Church Street. You've been to my office. And so we showed it. I showed it, I don't know how many times, 40 times. People would come in, and everybody wanted to put a pizza place in. And my answer to them was always, but we have many really good pizza places in Naugatuck. That's not what we want. And so they kind of go out, kind of upset that I wouldn't allow them to have that. So one of my board members, Carlos Santos, a lawyer in Naugatuck, he said, and we had a meeting, and I kept saying every meeting that, we've showed it again, we've showed it again. He says, this is why I use the word we, because it's not just me. He said, I have a guy that might be interested in this. So bring him in. So he comes in, and we talk in the conference room. And I said, well, come on, let me show you the building. And I just love this story, and I've said it several times. And the day we opened the new restaurant, I told all the people there, and we had a big crowd there, this exact story. So the guy's name is Jimmy, and he's a wonderful guy. So Carlos and I said, come on, I'll show you the building. So we walk in, Carlos and I walk in. We get down about halfway through the big room. And I said, where's Jimmy? And turn around, and Jimmy is looking like a kid on Christmas morning, because he had the vision that he could turn this building that used to be a railroad station. After that, it was the Naugatuck Daily News. And he had the vision, just by looking, how he could fix it and make it up. And took about a year and a half, and now it's a very, very good restaurant. And so I would say those three things, especially the railroad station and Parcel C, even though it's been several years, and I've had other accomplishments, and again, with other people working together, but I think that railroad station, which is now the Station Restaurant, and it's called the Station Restaurant for obvious reasons. And Jimmy said to me, and he became a very close friend, and we are good friends, and he said to me two things. He said, what do you think we should name it? I said, how about the Station Restaurant? So he said, that's a great idea. So that's what it's called. And then, and this is what I'm really proud of, he said, what's your favorite dish, favorite dinner? And I'm Italian, so I might not say, corned beef and cabbage. I'm going to say rigatoni bolognese. And if you come, and it's the next time you come to Naugatuck, I'm going to take you there. I'm going to show on the menu Ron's rigatoni bolognese. And I am so proud
That is cool.
I am so proud of that.
That's when you've arrived, Kev, when you have a meal named after you.
Yeah. Remind me, Kevin, at the end here, I got to ask you a question, okay?
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. Now, who do you answer to as economic development director? Like, how do you define success, or what kind of pressure are you under, and how do you know that you're on the right track? Is there a quota of the number of businesses?
No. So, interestingly, I do not work for the town of Naugatuck, but I work with the town of Naugatuck. So we are a public-private partnership between the town of Naugatuck and the business community, and I'm sort of the point guy. We have a board. I have a chairperson. I have an executive committee. And I work extremely close with a guy who is the mayor of Naugatuck, Pete Hess, who gets economic development. So he's really into economic development. So it's easy for me, and the mayor that I mentioned before, Bob Mezzo, also was somebody who was very into economic development. So we knew we needed that. So I report to a board.
All right, got it.
We meet every month.
That's interesting. So the administrations come and go, but you're because you're more of a liaison.
Yep.
A mayor comes in, a mayor comes out. You can remain. Is there a term limit to being in your position?
No,
okay.
I mean, they could fire me tomorrow, but I don't think that'll happen.
Don't fire Ron.
No,
Whoever's
don't.
listening. All right. So how many hours? What's an average day like? How many hours are you in the office?
Well, I'm an early guy.
Yeah.
I get up early. Today, about 10 after 4, I watch Sports Center, get myself a cup of coffee and watch Sports Center. Make sure the Yankees had won the night before, though I did know they won. And so I probably get in the office about 7:30 at the latest. And sometimes I have meetings prior to that, and I don't go directly. But if I go directly, it's anywhere between 7:15, 7:30, 7:45. And sometimes I'm there into the evening if there's a municipal meeting I have to go to or NEDC meeting. But maybe 4:30 I would leave. Now, you and I had talked about events that I'm a big event guy. I love to go to events. Well, for the last year, I had to go home.
Right.
And, my wife sometimes thinks it's really nice that I've come home. And sometimes it's like, don't you have an event to go to? But
I can relate.
yeah, I'm sure.
No, that's and I identified with your story because I too was married at 22.
Beautiful.
And I'll be celebrating 29 years
God bless you.
coming up. So
Great.
and I too attend conventions, and those breaks are good, for the relationship.
It is, yeah.
But that's good stuff. What changes took place due to COVID that you think are going to remain? Are you think you're gonna continue to have Zoom? Or are you done with Zoom?
Well, if I had my way, there'd be no more Zoom. But, that's never going to happen. I think Zoom will be there. And so, interestingly, is a very good question because we had Zoom meetings for our monthly meetings for close to over a year. So about, let's see, the end of April, we had our first meeting in person, but we also had the option for Zoom. About half our board members came. The other half were on Zoom, and I think that'll last for at least a while.
Yeah.
We have an annual meeting coming up in October, and last year we did just a meeting like we would have a regular meeting, and made it part of our an annual meeting. This time we're going to have a meeting like we've had for years. We have a speaker come, we have dinner, all that kind of stuff. We're going to do that. So we probably would start right after the annual meeting in October. Maybe in January, we'll start just stopping the Zoom.
Now, we talked a little bit about attracting young people to live in Naugatuck and
Yes.
so forth, and how that's impacted by transportation.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that and what's on the horizon for Naugatuck.
Okay,
What's your
so-
vision for Naugatuck?
So I mentioned parcel C, and I said there was a B and an A. Okay, B is another piece of property that has not been really used up to where it should be since Uniroyal Rubber Company shut down, which was in the mid-1980s.
Wow.
So that piece of property has been barren all that time. So the mayor and I and our board and the Board of Mayor and Burgesses, which is the town council in Naugatuck, we're all on board. And I use this word on purpose because it's right where the railroad tracks are. So we're working with the state to get, right now, where the former railroad station was, which is now the station restaurant, there's a platform there.
Okay.
We're getting rid of the platform. We're going to, hopefully, with the state's help, build a new station right there on Parcel B. And then we're going to build, through a developer, we're going to put out an RFP coming up fairly soon, to build a transit-oriented development. Now, transit-oriented development is something that's close to a railroad track or a railroad station, and it is commercial and it is residential, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And I'm not even saying we might do it, we hope to do it, we will do it.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. That walkable lifestyle where you can travel and walk down and get something to eat and go to work.
So what the way we look at this, that right now, and you probably know this because we're all Valley guys here, that you go from Waterbury to Bridgeport, going south on one track. You can't come back the other way at the same time. You can't have a train coming the same way. But right now, the state is building sidings that the train that's going north and the train that's going south, one will go to the siding. Pull over, yeah, and that'll make it, and so you can have more frequent train service, and that's exactly what we need. So once all that happens, they've been putting signalization on that line. They're putting some money into the line, and it hasn't been put money into that line for years. So I think Governor Malloy tried to start it out, but things were a little different then. Governor Lamont looks like he's starting to really get that going. And I think he will.
Yeah, and I think with the focus has been on COVID. So I think
we lost a year.
Yeah, essentially.
No question we lost a year.
So I'm hoping that picks up.
So just to get back to that residential part, we're hoping that somebody will come to Naugatuck and live there, get on the train, and go to his or her work in, say, Norwalk or Bridgeport or anything down that way. And then they can go down on the train and come back. You don't have to drive the car. Now, I'm sure you have been coming here to Shelton. It's very difficult in the morning to get over that bridge, Ansonia area there. We're hoping to get a lot of cars off Route 8 and let people just sit there, read their newspapers and get ready for their work, and then get back at a reasonable hour. So that's what we're hoping.
Well, that's a good future.
Yeah.
What matters to you most?
Boy, that's a tough question. I mean, that's an open question. I mean, probably the Yankees winning every possible game.
Okay, let me put it this way. You've got a great personal brand. You know, if I ask anybody about you, Matt Fortney introduced us.
He's a great guy.
Everyone says you're a great guy. That's your personal brand. What would you like your legacy to be? What would you want to be remembered for?
Well, I'll tell you what my legacy is already, even though I'm not ready to go anywhere. I have 3 sons. I have 3 daughters-in-law. And I have 7 grandsons. So I take my wife almost every day. I'm 10-0. She's 0-10. She doesn't like it, but I say it anyway. So I'll just give you an example. Just happened today. I got a text from my grandson who lives in North Haven. His name is Max, and he has a music project that he has to do. And I was so touched by the fact that he asked me, "What's your favorite song?" And I said back to him, I sent him a note, "Boy, that's a very difficult question because I love music, so I got a million songs that are all my favorites." But his second part of the question was that it's something that that motivates you, a song that would motivate you. And it just came immediately. God Bless the Child. And I wrote him a nice text back, and I said, "This is the song." It was done by a wonderful African-American woman named Billie Holiday in the 1940s. And then in the 70s, Blood, Sweat, and Tears did that song. It's a great song.
Yeah, that's God Bless the Child. It's got his own.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I gave him the last line where it says, "God bless the child who could stand up and say, I've got my own." It motivates you. And I'm getting goosebumps even telling the story. And it just happened today. So I think the things that really are most important in my life, and I joke about the Yankees, and I love them, of course, since I was a kid. I love playing golf, but I would give the Yankees up and I'd give up golf as long as my grandchildren are healthy and doing well. Amen. That's the most important thing to me.
Amen. So if you had a crystal ball for your career, because you're going at it hard. You're not. I mean, you're still you've got
working.
plans. You're still working. What do you see? What would you like to see in your future?
Well, I'd like to continue to work in Naugatuck and continue to upgrade that. The transit-oriented development that we just talked about, that's something that is really burns me. I want to get it done. The mayor wants to get it done. So I would think that is the one thing that I want to get done. And I think we will, as I said earlier.
You will.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, if you had a chance to pitch a business to come to Naugatuck, give us your best pitch to that business that's considering they want to move to the Valley. Why would they come to Naugatuck?
Well, I tell you this, that's a great question as well. But there's not really anything that I could say to anybody to come to Naugatuck. Naugatuck's a great town. There's a good employment base. There's really good people there. There's transportation. But what really would bring somebody to Naugatuck is the right piece of property or the right building. So I take all the credit when somebody comes. It's always me, but it's really not. It's the building. If somebody calls me, and it happens a lot, do you have such and such a building? I need 10,000 square feet. I need 20,000 square feet. If I have it, I could bring it to them. We've sold them all out. We have one empty building in our industrial park.
Wow.
So in a way, that's really good, but it's difficult to bring new people in.
So what's the solution? Construction? New construction?
Well, I'm urging people to build some. There's a piece of property. It's way up on the mountain in Naugatuck. The guys came in to see me. We want to buy that building or buy that property. We'd like to do residential. So I'm shaking my head, and they go, "Why not?" I said, "Well, if you're asking me,
right.
I'm saying I want commercial buildings. I want more commercial buildings. Right. I would love to build a brand new industrial park, but the cost of that is very, very difficult. So we keep plugging away.
Good.
We do get people that leave, and those buildings they go pretty quickly because our industrial park. And you ask any economic development person that knows me, they'll say, "Oh yeah, he says it all the time that he has the best industrial park in the state." And I do. I tell them that, and they all laugh. But I don't say it to be funny. I believe, and there's a lot of really good industrial parks, but we have a really good industrial park.
Awesome. Now, what's the best way for potential clients or businesses or even nonprofits to reach you?
Well, they could call me, of course, and if they call me, what I like to, they'll say to me, "Can I come and see you?" Of course you can. My office is always open, but I'd rather go see you, and that's what I like to do. But if you want, I'd give the phone number.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, so my office is 270 Church Street in Naugatuck, right next door to the YMCA. My telephone number is 203-720. I'm sorry, I don't even know my own number, Kevin. 203-723-4411.
All right.
And if you call that number, Lori Barassa, who's my assistant, will answer the phone, and just her voice will make your day.
Awesome.
She's such a good person.
We got to call.
Call
Call
Lori.
We got to call. So you have this incredible heart. I can just feel it. You have a great energy. You're just a lot of it to me, like you said, has to do with growing up in the projects. I think it's just, you have that humility, even though you've walked with kings, you've not lost that common touch. Give us a message for our young people, even our business owners that would encourage them to give back to their communities.
Well, the first thing I would say to any child, any young person, and I say this to them, go to school. I really don't like school. Go to school, get a degree. If you don't want to go past high school, that's fine, but get, and do something that you're going to enjoy to do. Now, when I was a kid, I wanted to play shortstop for the Yankees. It didn't work out for a lot of reasons.
You're tall enough.
Yeah, well, I can't hit a curveball. Even now I can't. But you have to find something.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to college and you want to be a doctor, that's wonderful. We need doctors. We need teachers. We need good congressmen. We don't always have that, but we do. Here in Connecticut, we do, and we're lucky. We need state senators. We need good presidents. But we also need people that be happy and raise the children. And that's probably, as I said before about my grandchildren, I can't tell you how proud I am about them, but I'm proud of my sons and my daughters-in-law who are raising these kids, and these kids are great. So it's fun. Life is great if you just keep a good, positive way of living your life. Life is great.
Yeah.
Can't worry about money. You can't worry about anything else. You got to have your health and your happiness and your family. That's all that counts.
Ron, it's been a real pleasure to have you on here.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
It's my pleasure. You and I met not too long ago, and I think we're best friends now. Really good friends. I found out you're a Yankee fan. How about you, Kev? Are you a Yankee fan? Attaboy. That's a very good answer. He's just nodding his head. He's a great
You can
kid.
play a sound effect since you don't have a mic over there. What would be another rim shot, or what do you got? What do you got for us?
Come on. Take your time.
Here's Joey Vanderbilt.
Okay.
This
We'll
has been
take
great.
it. Yeah,
I've really
this has
enjoyed
been
it.
fun. Listen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is Ramon Peralta from Peralta Design, and we launch brands.
Thank you for taking this journey with us. To learn more about Peralta Design and our work, go to www.peraltadesign.com and subscribe to keep up with the crew.